Sveiki sugrįžę Delfi TV žiūrovai. Dar kartą sveikinamės iš EBIT vadovų konferencijos ir šalia manęs šachmatų didmeisteris Garry Kasporov. Hello.
Good afternoon.
I was listening to your presentation. Unfortunately, most of the people who are watching online didn't have this possibility. So I want to ask about very optimistic note you did at the end of it. You said like machines will not steal our jobs, but will promote us, something like this. So how can you be so optimistic? Because many people would say machines even win in chess play.
Look, my optimism is based on reading of human history. There were so many jobs, millions, billions of jobs have been lost to machines in the past. That's human history. We always created machines to make us stronger. Machines did physical labor, make us faster. Machine helped us to circle the globe or even to rocket to the moon. Now machines will make us smarter. Machines, always take some jobs, but they create new opportunities. It's a normal cycle. The moment we say, oh, no, we have to preserve these jobs, that means we're stagnating. I don't want to sound callous. I don't want just to upset people who say, oh, but my job is at risk. Yes, certain jobs are at risk, but if we look at humanity, if we recognize that, while some people lose, many more can win, it will give us a different perspective. And I think, my story is quite powerful because, yes, I faced machines, I fought machines, I recognize that it's a dead end. Fighting machines doesn't make us any good. And anything that we know how we do, machines will do better. Anything that you can qualify as a closed system, whether it's chess, game of Go, video games like Dota, anything that you can have a framework, machines eventually will outperform us. Again, that means we have to be more creative. We have to come up with new ideas. We have to keep creating new frameworks. And I hope that machines will actually force us back to exploration, back to space, to deep oceans, because now we can take bigger risk.
And you remember what was your first reaction after losing this game famous game in 1997? Because now you're seeing this like opportunity. And when haven't you thought, oh my God, this is the end of a chess game?
Look, I didn't think so much about the game of chess. I thought about myself losing the first match in my life, not just to the machine, but to anyone. So it was a really painful experience, but that's life. Obviously today, 22 years later, I could smile, I could make jokes about it. In 1997, I was in a different mood. But that's why I'm telling people, that's why I go from conference to conference telling people, look, it could be painful, but let's think about the bright future. Let's think about opportunities machines will create for us. They will definitely take some jobs. But look at agriculture. In the 19th century, go back to the end of the 19th century, almost all people were involved in some form of agriculture, just growing food, processing food. So and few industrial jobs. These jobs have gone. In 20th century, manufacturing jobs, they've disappeared. Now it's just a time for other jobs. We think that intellectual jobs cannot be repetitive, cannot be primitive, call it rot. They can be. Actually, we use so little of our creativity. And that's why I think that the rise of intelligent machines will actually force us to be more human, to unleash our creativity.
And how can we do that? Because many people say machines take creativity in such a sense that because we are all the time on the phone, on the computer, just staring and forgetting all the world around us.
But it's also, I think we don't recognize how much power we carry in our pocket or our purse. The device that we use for all our just primitive things, these devices 1,000 times more powerful than crazy supercomputer 40 years ago, which in 76, 77 was considered to be sort of a miracle. So it's a new wonder of the world. Now we are carrying 1,000 supercomputers in our pocket, and we don't recognize that it empowers us to do great things. Again, there's something that machines cannot do. They cannot dream. But it seems to me that we are dreaming less than we can now, and it's the first time probably in history of human race that our desire to open new horizons, our spirit of exploration, it's lagging behind technology. So we always had, this powerful will to move forward, and technology had to catch up. Now it's the other way around. We have technology, but we don't want to go to space, moon, Mars, too risky. But that's how humanity always develops. So I hope that AI will actually start pushing us in this direction.
Can I ask a bit personal question? Like, what are you dreaming of? Because you are world chess champion for
I used to be, yes. I'm
you used to be, but okay, everybody knows you like this. So what are your dreams when you have look, it seems everything?
No, look, I think I managed a very difficult but very important for me transition from being the best world champion, best chess player for nearly 2 decades, into someone who does other things. I go to the conference, I talk about AI, I talk about innovations, I talk about exploration, I talk about decision making. I would call myself a political activist, not a politician. So I'm a chairman of Human Rights Foundation. So I'm also involved in a Russian opposition movement that is operating abroad, Free Russia Forum, by the way, based here in Vilnius. So I have many other things. Plus, I have my family. So that's why, yes, I have kids. So life is full, and I think that's what. I know what I learned from the game of chess. So it's not just about winning; it's about making the difference. And as long as I can feel that I can make the difference, for instance, talking to people and eliminating this fear, or at least making them more adaptable to this inevitable change. So I think I'm just I'm doing a good job.
I remember the name of one book, which is called "Changing the World is the Only Fit Job for a Grown-Up Man." So I guess you would agree to that.
Look, I think that we all should look for our opportunity to make a change, because we all without exceptions can make a contribution. It's important to find out what is your specific contribution that could help others. I think now that I'm quite comfortable because I know exactly what is the message, how to harness the message, and how to actually push it to people. So just to make them more adjustable to these inevitable changes in our lives, and that's adds to my comfort, and it adds to my confidence, and I think that it was always a miraculous change from the world of chess to different worlds. So it's also, I'm grateful to my wife. So we married in 2005, and so she did a tremendous job by helping me actually to redesign myself. So prior to that, it was mostly my mother that helped me to grow up as a chess player. And from 2005, Dasha and myself, so we built a team that actually helped me to, again, find a new place. And so at age 55, I feel young because I believe I could make the difference, and I could continue my, endless quest in this life.
So in your personal life, you also think very strategically, like in chess. You think if I do that,
strategically, no. It's probably a wrong word. So we all look like human. We are emotional. So, and obviously, that's my personal life prior to 2005 was more hectic. So there were 2 other marriages. But now I know. I just it's eventually I did something right. So that's it. And I'm now obviously at age 55. You are more inclined to do planning than at age 25, because you understand that that you already you have crossed the equator of your life. So you just to be more thoughtful about the years you are planning to spend on this planet.
And I read in your book you are saying you're already on the step of life and you want to share your experience. So what advice maybe you could give for young people, or maybe you would want to give to young yourself?
No, look, it's I can feel young, but I know exactly my age, so I have no illusions about it. So I think there's many things I want to share. I could definitely recommend reading the book How Life Imitated Chess, the book that I signed before the interview. So actually, it's to my surprise, I was approached by one of the passengers in the plane last night flying from Frankfurt. So just having the Lithuanian edition of How Life Imitated Chess, it's pocket edition, paperback. And the first advice I always give people is this: don't listen to some kind of universal advices. If somebody tells all of you, so you have to do this or that, that's no good, because every advice should be tailored. It's our decision-making formula, our decision-making abilities. They are as unique as our DNA or fingerprints. And it's very important that before that before we actually start thinking about us as decision makers, we know exactly who we are. So whether we are more aggressive or more dynamic or maybe more conservative and more defensive, which is nothing wrong. So this is thinking that your nature is standing on your way to success is wrong. You actually have to adjust the world around you to your nature. So if you are more defensive, I'm more dynamic, so I know that. If you are less dynamic, don't try to change it, but actually try to create situations where your strengths will be a more prominent factor and your weaknesses will be covered. So it's about learning about yourself. So all the answers are, I believe, strongly believe, all the answers are within. So you always have to be able to look inward to understand who you are and how to make progress and how just to utilize your best abilities.
You mentioned you are very dynamic, and really it seems so from a public space, but most people have image of chess player like very introvert people. So how does it fit together?
No, look at this. Playing style, could be very different. So it's naturally, if you look at Anatoly Karpov, you will think, oh, that's more of a chess player, more just reserved. Kasparov is different; it's like a fire and ice. But as in tennis, you can be a very aggressive player, powerful serve, you rush to the net, or you can play from the back line. Both could be number one. So it's style. It's not. It's not a definition of who you are at your sport. So I was very comfortable with my style. Again, it's recognizing that you are more dynamic means that you have to make sure that your style helps you to achieve certain results. So and you also must recognize the limitations. So just not to do things where you're not good at. So again, outside of chess, it took time for me to understand that there's certain things I shouldn't do because I'm not so good, for instance, micromanagement. I'm much better at big picture. So again, recognize what is your strengths, what you're good at, and try to concentrate there.
In Lithuania, we had an initiative where people could offer ideas for Lithuania how to make a progress. And one of the ideas was to make chess lessons obligatory at school for kids. How do you think it is a good idea? How could it help for people?
Look, I've been promoting the idea for nearly 30 years. It's even at the last years of the Soviet Union. There was a group of grandmasters, and I was a world champion who was leading them, tried to convince Soviet authorities that had very, very little appetite. Because contrary to the popular belief in the Soviet Union, chess was more a professional sport, though it was not recognized professional sport, and education had was no interest for communist propaganda. Since the early 90s, I've been doing it around the world and in different countries. But in 2002, I formed Kasparov Chess Foundation in the United States. Now I have the several other Kasparov Chess Foundation units in Africa, in Singapore, in France for Francophonie, in Mexico City, and one in Croatia as a Croatian national. So I built one for Adriatics, and the main idea is actually to push chess into education, because I think that for the 21st century education, we have to consider quite dramatic changes in the structure. In a very short terms, instead of teaching what, we have to teach how. Because teaching what is just totally it's irrelevant these days, because kids can use their mobile devices and swiping their fingers. They can find out in 5 minutes more than the teacher learned for his or her entire life. So, but how to use the information, how to actually position yourself just to make this information useful for your life, that's another story. And chess is a great lesson, because it helps them to understand how to operate with a big picture. So how your move on one side of the board affects the situation on the other side of the board. So it's not about necessarily finding the best players and growing champions, though it can happen as a side effect. But it's about giving them better understanding of life and the connections between different events.
As you are retired already from the professional sport, so do you still play chess just for your pleasure?
Yeah, I do exhibitions regularly, because It's on every second speech, people ask, to play a little exhibition. I play, exhibitions, just large exhibitions, sometimes with kids. So again, it's as a part of chess promotion. I play in St. Louis in the United States, which is now some sort of a chess capital of the world. So I go there every summer. I play some. Again, for me, it's exhibition matches. I'm retired, but it's I love the game. I'm still passionate, and I do regularly the sessions with talented kids. It's a program we started in America more than a decade ago, and now we will have our first session in Europe this summer in Croatia. So twice a year, at least, I spend a few days with the best kids. I'm talking about master level kids. So just to help them to make progress.
But where to find it's hard to say even equal competitors to be interested in game, because if I will win.
No. Look, it's this. It's I'm a retired player, so there are many young grandmasters now. They're no match to be simply because they live there. So it's I'm no longer playing chess to win. I'm just playing it to have fun. So that's very different. But again, I think that is when I play. Again, I know that I win, I lose, but it's fun competitions. But it helps to promote the game. It's again making the difference. I know that my participation helps to bring more people into the game. It could increase the number of followers of the game. That's fine. As long as, again, it makes difference, I'm happy to do that.
And just to the end of this conversation about this making a change, and you also mentioned in the conference about the threats in this world, and you mentioned as well Russia, and everybody, I think, remember your move when you tried to run before elections for a president, and you said it was just a statement. So you still think that in Russia can be free election, and maybe you see how can you make your impact to that?
No, look, Russia today is a one-man dictatorship that openly embraces fascist ideology, and it's the most aggressive, most dangerous regime in the world because it has ability, both military ability and also enormous financial resources to disrupt world order. And we know that Putin is not shy to do it anywhere in the globe. So the fact is that they were so brazen to attack American elections, demonstrates that he will not stop at any cost of trying to promote his image of all-powerful leader who can defy any country, including the United States. So we all should recognize that this regime will not go down peacefully. It will not be on the free elections. Because elections in Russia, it's a war. It's a war that means absolutely nothing. Here in Lithuania, you are moving into elections, and by the way, as Ukrainians 3 days from now, and you don't know who's going to win. That's called elections. So in Russia, elections means, like a ritual, for people in the Stone Age. They go to the cave and they make dances because everyone knows the outcome. So it will be something to laugh at if it will not be so dangerous, because for unelected leader, for a dictator, the only way to promote his strengths is to create confidence and to show that he's invincible. So that's why, as long as Putin stays in power, Russian aggressive policy will not change. So that's why everybody should be vigilant, and hopefully the free world now is listening, though we still could see how many Putin agents and lobbyists around the world, they are just, they are trying to actually push his agenda. We have the whole story in Germany with Nord Stream 2, and again, many lobbyists in Europe, less in America, but even there we could see that there are many voices trying to call for, renewing the policy of appeasement. Hopefully, again, the world is learning faster than in the 1930s, and we'll avoid another tragedy.
Okay, so thank you for our conversation. Ačiū visiems žiūrėjusiems ir iki greito kito karto.